Welcome back to the Blueprints for Better Benefits series. I'm your host, Rodney Matos Jr., and today we're opening the door to one of the most misunderstood and most expensive cost drivers in employer healthcare: pharmacy rebates. If you've ever wondered why your pharmacy spend keeps rising with no clear explanation, today we shine a light on the truth. At Triforta, we've dissected PBM contracts, rebate flows, and the vertical integrations that quietly redirects dollars away from employers and into carrier profits. Rebates sound like discounts, but too often they become hidden revenue streams trapped in opaque contracts and padded by administrative fees. Today's conversation exposes why drugs like Humira stay expensive, why cheaper biosimilars get buried, why carriers hit record profits, and why employers are left paying more year after year. And leading us through this is someone with unmatched insight, Triforta's founder and CEO, Rodney Matos Sr. He'll walk us through vertical integration, PBM money flow, rebates that bypass MLR rules, and how employers can finally take back control. This is episode 2, why prescription rebates hijack your budget. Let's begin.
All right, next let's talk about the hidden cost driver that too often flies under the radar: pharmacy rebates. At Triforta, we've analyzed this inside and out, and let's be clear, RX rebates can wreak havoc on your budget if you're not paying close attention. Here's the deal. Pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, negotiate discounts on prescription drugs, rebates that are supposed to bring costs down. But the dirty secret? Those rebates rarely find their way back into your employees' pockets or your company's bottom line. Instead, those dollars often get trapped in the black box of the PBM contracts, obscured by opaque terms and hidden fees that make it nearly impossible to see what you're actually paying. This lack of transparency keeps employers like you in the dark, while the rebates quietly pad someone else's profit margin. Think of it like this. You're paying a premium on medications, drugs your employees need to stay healthy, and then the rebates that could offset those costs vanish into thin air because of the middleman. That's not a sustainable model, and it's definitely not employer friendly. At Triforta, we believe in transparency. We believe that every rebate dollar should be accountable for and that employers deserve a fair share in those savings. By shining a light on these hidden rebates and understanding the true impact on your budget, you can reclaim control over your pharmacy spend and protect your bottom line. In this next segment, we'll show you exactly how to do that and how Triforta's data-driven solutions can help you build a pharmacy strategy that works smarter and not harder. So let's continue. Let's take a closer look at how the major players in the insurance industries have structured their businesses over the past decade. This slide highlights the vertical integration across insurers, pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, specialty pharmacies, and provider services. What we're seeing here is that each of these carriers has not only established relationships with various healthcare services, but in many cases has acquired them outright, creating a deeply interconnected ecosystem. So why does this matter? Well, let's go back to the Affordable Care Act's medical loss ratio, or the MLR requirement, which mandates that 85% of every dollar collected in premiums must be spent on healthcare costs for a large group. This was designed to protect consumers and ensure that most of their premiums went directly toward their care, not administrative costs or profit. But here's the catch. If you're an insurer and can only keep 15 cents of every dollar as profit, how do you maximize your revenue? The answers for these companies has been vertical integration. And here's what it looks like. They realize that if they own the services they're paying for, like pharmacies, specialty pharmacies, and even provider services, they can pay that 85% to themselves. In essence, they're using our premium dollars to fund services they own, which allows them to capture revenue at multiple levels. It's a smart business move, but it doesn't always benefit the employer or their employees. Now, I sometimes joke that if you own stock in United Health Group, Cigna, or any of these companies, then this strategy has been great for you. But as an employer, paying those premiums is not as favorable. They're driving significant profits by paying themselves, and you can see this growth reflected in their stock prices, as we showed earlier. To make this clearer, let's take United Healthcare as an example. We'll pick on them for a moment. They own Optum Rx and their pharmacy benefit manager, as well as Optum Care, which provides direct healthcare services. When they pay for a prescription drug through Optum Rx or for medical services through a provider through Optum Care, they're essentially moving money from one pocket to the other. This structure allows them to create additional revenue by retaining part of what they're spending on claims. And it's not just United Healthcare. Each of these major carriers on this slide, Cigna, CVS Health, which owns Aetna, Elevance, and Blue Shield, has similar setups. They're each aligned or acquired pharmacy and provider services so they can channel claim dollars back into their own businesses. I like to keep this explanation straightforward. If an insurer is required to spend 85 cents of every dollar on healthcare, wouldn't they prefer to spend it in their own network, where they can also generate additional revenue? It's basically the right pocket paying the left pocket. This is the reality behind these integrated structures. It's beneficial for their bottom line, but can be a challenge for employers trying to control costs. The setup also means that employers are missing out on transparency. For instance, pharmacy rebates are another area of hidden profits. These rebates don't even count towards the MLR, so when your employee fills a prescription with a rebate, that money goes straight back to the insurer without impacting the calculations. And this is one of the reasons why employers may find themselves facing premium increases without any clear data on where their dollars are going. So the big takeaway for us from this slide is that vertical integration has allowed insurers to drive up their revenue within the confines of the ACA rules. But as you can see, the structure can create added costs for employers and employees, costs that don't always reflect the actual healthcare value being delivered. And this is a moment for reflection. Let me ask, how does this structure impact your ability to control costs? Are you seeing transparency from your carrier on these cost drivers? All right, let's take a look at slide 10 here, where you can see a significant shift in United Health Group's operating income over the past decade. Historically, United Healthcare, their traditional insurance arm, was the primary driver of revenue and profit for United Health Group. But look at how things have evolved. Back in 2012, United Healthcare accounted for about 84% of the operating margin of United Health Group, with Optum making up only about 15%. Fast forward to the present, and Optum's role has grown tremendously, now comprising nearly 50% of their operating margin. In fact, in 2022, Optum contributed about 50.6% of United Health Group's operating margin, while United Healthcare's share dropped to 49.4%. So what's driving this shift? United Health Group has strategically grown Optum to include a range of services: Optum Rx, their pharmacy benefit manager, Optum Care, a provider network, and other healthcare management services. So this vertical integration not only helps United Health Group diversify its revenue streams, but also allows them to retain more of each dollar spent in their healthcare ecosystem by keeping services in their house. Optum has essentially become a profit powerhouse within United Health Group, enabling them to capture revenue at multiple stages of the healthcare journey, from providing and managing care to dispensing prescriptions. And this isn't just a one-off strategy. It's a deliberate transformation that's paying off handsomely for them. Optum's growth has brought steady revenue increases and driven stock performance. But if you're on the other side, as an employer or employee, this shift has implications for how much you're paying for healthcare and how much control you have over those costs. This is why understanding these vertical integrations is really so critical. As Optum's influence and revenue share grow, United Health Group continues to find ways to maximize profitability within the confines of regulatory requirements, like the medical loss ratio we discussed earlier. The bigger Optum gets, the more they can leverage these internal services to make healthcare spending work for them, while employers and employees bear the rising costs. So now let's dive into a specific example that illustrates how pharmacy rebates impact the real cost of a drug. In this case, we'll look at Humira, one of the most prescribed specialty medications. On this slide, we're comparing strategies from 2022 to 2023 from Humira, a drug with notoriously high price tag. In 2022, Humira cost around $80,000 per year, and the pharmacy benefit manager negotiated a $40,000 rebate, bringing the net cost down to $40,000. So think about that. Half of the cost of the drug was a rebate. In 23, however, the price rose to $100,000, and the rebate increased as well to $50,000. So while the net cost appears to be $50K, we have to ask ourselves, why did the price go up in the first place? So here's what's happening behind the scenes. Rebates are designed to incentivize the pharmacy benefit managers and insurers to keep those high-cost drugs like Humira on their formulary. Essentially, the higher price of the drug, the larger the rebate that flows back to the PBM or the insurer, one of the BUCAs. This arrangement benefits them financially because they keep a portion of that rebate. But it doesn't benefit you, the employer, or your employees. And we're ultimately footing the bill. So let's explain this rebate concept in a little more detail. Sometimes I use a simple explanation. Imagine you're buying a TV at Costco. TV is listed for $1,000, and there's a $200 manufacturer rebate, which means, pretty straightforward, you pay $800 at checkout, and the rebate goes directly to you. But with Humira and other drugs, the rebate doesn't work that way. When the pharmacy benefit manager negotiates a rebate with the drug manufacturer, that rebate doesn't reduce the price for you or your employees. It's collected by the PBM or the insurance company, not passed back to the payer or the patient. So while the rebate may lower the net cost on paper, it doesn't lower the actual out-of-pocket cost for anyone using the drug. To make it even clearer, Humira's manufacturer negotiates different rebates with various PBMs. If you're a self-funded employer, you might be able to receive some of these rebates directly. But when you're on a fully insured plan, the rebate goes to the carrier, creating a financial incentive to keep the high-cost drug on that formulary. So let's take a look at why aren't the prices coming down with competition. Here's where things get interesting. So when a brand name drug like Humira goes off patent, you expect the prices to drop as biosimilars, essentially generic versions of that biologic drug, enter the marketplace. This is common with many drugs. For example, when Lipitor's patent expired, generic versions became available at a fraction of the cost, driving down the price. But with specialty drugs like Humira, that hasn't happened. Even though biosimilars are available, the price hasn't come down because insurers and PBMs still want the large rebates that Humira provides, and they control the formulary. So they're keeping high-cost drug accessible to maximize rebate revenue for themselves. Meanwhile, a Humira biosimilar like Yosemite is available at a fraction of the cost, $8,300 at retail, or even $692 per fill through Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drug Company. However, these lower cost alternatives don't offer the same rebate opportunities for PBMs or insurers, so they're not likely to be included on the preferred formularies, and patients are left paying more. So the key takeaway here is that the rebate system doesn't necessarily work in the best interest of patients or employers. As a self-funded employer, you ideally want your employees to have access to more affordable options like Yosemite instead of being funneled toward the high-cost drug with a rebate. By being aware of these hidden costs, we can start having conversations about formulary choices and exploring options that prioritize transparency and cost effectiveness.
This segment is brought to you by the people and platforms that make this show possible. First, Triforta. If you're an employer who's tired of runaway renewals, bloated, fully insured plans, and the feeling that your benefit strategy is working against you instead of for you, then hear us clearly. You do not have to play that game anymore. Help business owners fix broken health insurance. We bring cost containment strategies, self-funded captives, data intelligence, and real-world case studies that routinely save employers 6 and 7 figures without cutting benefits. If you want a benefits plan that actually rewards results, visit Triforta.com and download our blueprints for better benefits. And second, Aperionics. If you run an insurance agency and you're still drowning in manual quoting, data entry, or commission reconciliation, you're leaving more than time on the table. You're leaving money. Aperionics is the automation layer built by insurance people for insurance people. AI quoting for carriers that don't have APIs. Instant policy data extraction, commission statement automation, proposal generation in seconds, not hours. Aperionics reduces operating costs and gives teams their time back so they can work at the top of their license. Learn more at aperionics.com. That's APEIRONIX.com. Triforte and Aperionics, two companies, one united mission. Fix what's broken, elevate what's possible, and help real people thrive. Now let's get back to the show.
So let's take a look at this slide. When an insurance carrier owns the PBM, it creates a direct financial synergy. PBMs manage the prescription drug benefit for employees, and through this integration, insurers can leverage rebates from drug manufacturers and achieve greater control over the entire pharmacy benefit process. But while this consolidation is profitable for carriers, it's often not as transparent for you, the employer. So to fully understand the financial flows, let's break down the key players involved in the PBM system and their roles. This is where your journey to full transparency starts. Let's start over here at the bottom left. Plan sponsor, the employer, and that's your organization. You're responsible for funding and managing the health plan that offers these benefits to your employees. Then as we move up, let's look at the health plan. This is your insurer. They negotiate on your behalf with healthcare providers, including PBMs, to administer the health benefits. Then moving up from there, we have the pharmacy benefit manager. Think of the PBM as the intermediary. They negotiate drug prices, manage prescription formularies, and handle rebates from drug manufacturers. Then, as we move to the top of the page, the drug manufacturer themselves. Of course, these are the companies that create the medications your employees rely on. Moving around to the right, the wholesalers. Those are the intermediaries that purchase the medications from the manufacturers and supply them to the pharmacies. Coming down again, the pharmacy. Of course, this is where your employees, the patients, actually go to get their prescriptions filled. Then, of course, finally, the patient, employee, the most important player, who depend on your health plan for access to medications. So let's walk through the entire PBM money flow cycle so you can see where your dollars go throughout this entire process. Of course, the plan sponsor, it starts with your organization. As a plan sponsor, you contribute funds to your health plan to cover employee benefits. A large portion of those funds is then allocated to the PBM. And the PBM is responsible for managing the prescription drug portion of your plan. Then from the PBM to the pharmacy, or the PBM then reimburses pharmacies for dispensing the medications your employees need. This is where the real complexity begins. And then pharmacy to wholesaler. The pharmacy takes a portion of those funds to pay the wholesaler who supplies the drugs, wholesaler to drug manufacturer. Finally, the wholesaler sends payments back to the drug manufacturer, completing the cycle. The cycle may seem straightforward, but each layer adds costs that can increase your health insurance spend. And that's where hidden currents come into play. Now let's talk about the hidden currents, those less visible factors that can greatly impact your health insurance costs. These include rebates, administrative fees, and the rising cost of specialty medications. So for the rebates, the drug manufacturers offer PBMs rebates to incentivize them to place their drugs on preferred formulary tiers. While these rebates are supposed to reduce premiums, they can also distort the market by driving up drug prices. PBMs often keep a portion of these rebates, passing only some back to the health plan and ultimately you. Then, of course, there's administrative fees. So in addition to handling your health plan, insurers charge separate admin fees. These fees can be hidden in the fine print, so it's really crucial to ask the right questions. And understanding these fees is essential to managing your overall health insurance spend. Then we have specialty medications. These are the high-cost drugs for complex conditions that require special handling. Specialty drugs now make up a significant portion of the total drug spend, and PBMs often have their own in-house specialty pharmacies. So this vertical integration, while profitable for PBMs, likely increases your costs without offering any corresponding value to your employees. These hidden currents, rebates, admin fees, and specialty pharmacy costs are crucial to understand because they directly impact the profitability of health plans. Health plans use PBM integration to not only comply with the medical loss ratio requirements, but also to increase their profits. For example, under the ACA, insurers are required to spend 85% of revenue on care. But those rebates and the PBM revenues don't count towards this ratio. This allows the carriers to show they're spending more on care while still maintaining high profitability through the pharmacy benefit channel. Think about it. To the insurance carriers, premium is considered revenue. And who, in any business, ever wakes up and thinks about how they can reduce revenue? And that's exactly what employers are realizing today. The incentives of health insurance carriers are not aligned with their customers. As employers, you now have the power to take control of your health insurance dollars, add profit to your bottom line, and put more money back in your employees' paychecks. So that's it for this segment. We exposed how PBMs and carriers keep the lion's share of pharmacy rebates while employers absorb every rising RX costs. We looked at vertical integration 101. When an insurer owns the PBM, specialty pharmacy, and provider group, your premium dollars just circulate inside their ecosystem and never circle back to you. We looked at the Humira case study. A list price jumped from $80,000 to $100,000, looked neutral on paper thanks to a bigger rebate, but net spend still climbed 25%. And then, of course, hidden currents. Administrative drift, rebate clawbacks, and specialty drug markups flow beneath the surface, quietly inflating your total plan cost. You can't fix what you can't see, and rebate opacity is the darkest corner of the benefits budget. Every untracked rebate dollar is a profit center for someone else. Transparency isn't a luxury. It's step one towards funding benefits that are actually benefit.
Thank you for joining us for episode 2 of the Blueprints for Better Benefits series. And today we uncovered one of the most powerful hidden forces driving your healthcare costs, the pharmacy rebate system. We explored how PBMs negotiate massive rebates, how those dollars disappear, and how vertical integration lets carriers profit at multiple steps in the drug supply chain. You now see why high-cost drugs stay on formularies, why biosimilars struggle for placement, and why employers rarely get full transparency. At Triforta, this is our passion. We safeguard your business, your people, and your bottom line with tech-powered strategies built on truth and hard-earned experience. If today's conversation sparked new questions, visit Triforta.com for more insights and resources. We are Triforta, and we're here for you.